Welcome to Serious Rock Talk Crime.
On April the 1st, 1984, Marvin Gaye's father walked into his son's bedroom. The singer ordered him out of the room, then followed him into the hall, and pushed the father around pretty good, police said later. The father returned with a gun and shot his son twice, once in the shoulder and once in the heart. When news got out, some thought at first it must be a twisted April Fool's joke. Some saw it as the culmination of Gaye's death wish and thought, so he finally did it. Hello, I'm Dr. Ian Clark, and this is Serious Rock Talk Crime. The difficult life and up and down career of Marvin Gaye has many parallels in show business, but rarely are the dimensions so extreme. He had the looks and talent to become a major music star, and he did. However, he was burdened with the effects of an abusive childhood coupled with mental illness and crippling drug addictions. This is the tale of a gifted man who, to borrow from bluesman Robert Johnson, always had a hellhound on his tail. Born Marvin Pence Gaye Jr. in Washington, D.C., April 2, 1939, he was raised under the strict control of his father, Reverend Marvin Gaye Sr. Throughout his childhood, Gaye often found peace in music, mastering the piano and drums at a young age. Until high school, his singing experience was limited to church revivals, but soon he developed a love for R&B and doo-wop that would set the foundation for his career. In the late 1950s, Gaye joined a vocal group called the New Moonglows. The talented singer had a phenomenal range that spanned 3 vocal styles, and he soon impressed the group's founder, Harvey Fuqua. It wasn't long before Gaye and Fuqua both came to the attention of Detroit music impresario Berry Gordy Jr., and they were signed to Gordy's label, Motown Records. Gaye's first certified hit under his own name wouldn't come until 1962, but his early years at Motown were full of behind-the-scenes successes. He was a session drummer for Motown legends such as Little Stevie Wonder, The Supremes, The Marvelettes, and Martha and the Vandellas. Throughout the 1960s, Gaye would show his immense range, churning out solo dance hits and romantic duets with hitmakers like Diana Ross and Mary Wells. For 3 years, Gaye and Tammy Terrell performed duets. Unfortunately, their reign as the royal couple of R&B ended when Terrell succumbed to a brain tumor in 1970. His partner's death ushered in a dark period for the singer, who swore never to partner with another female vocalist and threatened to abandon the stage altogether. In 1970, inspired by escalating violence and political unrest over the Vietnam War, Gaye wrote the landmark song, What's Going On? He said it was inspired by his brother who was serving in Vietnam. Despite clashes with Motown over the song's creative direction, the single was released in 1971 and became an instant hit. Its success prompted Gaye to take even more risks, both musically and politically. When it was released in the spring of 1971, the What's Going On album served to open Gaye up to new audiences while maintaining his Motown following. Suave tenor, restless risk-taker, a longtime sex symbol with an elegant playboy persona, Gaye had an otherworldly voice. His falsetto found new registers of rapture and longing. His songs married carnality and spirituality. As his fame increased, he became reclusive. Worshipful crowds filled his concert seats. Women particularly adored him, but the love felt fleeting and unreliable. He said, I want to be liked, and I would hate it, I mean really hate it, if an audience didn't like me. It's really a hang-up I have. In 1972, Gaye moved to Los Angeles and soon met Janice Hunter, who would later become his second wife. Inspired in part by his newfound independence, Gaye recorded one of the most revered love anthems of all time, Let's Get It On. The song became his second #1 Billboard hit, cementing his crossover appeal. Shortly afterwards, Motown pushed Gaye to tour to capitalize on his recent success. Reluctantly, he agreed to return to the stage. In 1975, Gaye's wife, Anna Gordy, Berry Gordy's sister, filed for divorce, and 2 years later, Gaye married Hunter, who had by then given birth to their daughter and son. Their marriage proved short-lived and tumultuous, ending in divorce in 1971. After 2 decades at Motown, Gaye signed with CBS's Columbia Records in 1982 and began to work on his last album, Midnight Love. Marvin Gaye and his father were at war from the start. The father beat the son regularly and scorned non-religious music as the devil's work. My husband never wanted Marvin, the singer's mother, Alberta, told the biographer, and he never liked him. He used to say that he didn't think he was really his child. I told him that was nonsense. He knew Marvin was his, but for some reason he didn't love Marvin, and what's worse, he didn't want me to love Marvin either. Marvin wasn't very old before he understood that. Marvin Gaye described his father as a very peculiar, changeable, cruel, and all-powerful king. Even though winning his love was the ultimate goal of my childhood, I defied him. I hated his attitude. I thought I could win his love through singing, so I sang my heart out. I realized my voice was a gift of God and had planned to use it to praise him, but my father hated it when my singing won more praise than his sermons. Even as he grew more popular than his father, Gaye would recall the violence continued. He said, I wanted to strike back, but where from? Even to raise your hand to your father is an invitation for him to kill you. To escape him, the singer dropped out of high school and joined the Air Force, then faked a mental breakdown and won an honorable discharge. He dreamed of being the Black Frank Sinatra. He found a surrogate father in Berry Gordy and became an architect of the famous Motown sound. Marvin Gaye did not like the government, and he scorned taxes, which the government noticed. By the late 1970s, he was bankrupt and owed the IRS $2 million. He fled for Europe, chased by creditors, and depressed that Motown seemed to have given up on him. He spent 3.5 years in self-imposed exile and returned to tell the Times newspaper, I'm egotistical. I could lie and pretend that I am very humble, but that's jive. You can't do what I'm doing and not have a big ego to feed. In 1983, Gaye toured his Midnight Love album. According to the critics, at last he was an artist vindicated. He had left Motown behind him. But Gaye was wrestling with serious depression and a cocaine freebasing habit that inflamed his paranoia. Once he was found wandering on a freeway as if daring cars to hit him. He had talked of suicide. He admitted trying to do it with a cocaine overdose, but had not been able to go all the way. His father's religion told him it was a mortal sin. By the time 44-year-old Marvin Gaye moved into the big rambling house with his parents on South Gramercy Place in Los Angeles, his cocaine habit was severe and his paranoia was deep. Enemies were conspiring against him, he feared. He gave his father a .38 caliber revolver to protect the house, he said. He had come full circle from childhood. He and his father fell into a pattern of violent fights and quarrels that were called conflicts that had haunted the family for decades. It was a madhouse where screaming matches were heard frequently, said his brother Frankie Gaye, who wrote a memoir later called Marvin Gaye, My Brother. The musician holed up in his bedroom with a gun in his pocket and a Bible in his hand, with steady visits from his drug dealers. His 69-year-old mother doted on him, cooking for him, rubbing his feet, and praying with him. The father, often drunk, resented the loss of her attention. He kept the .38 revolver under his pillow. The fatal confrontation was on April the 1st, 1984. The father had come to the son's bedroom and was berating his wife about a misplaced letter from an insurance company. The singer ordered him out of the room, then followed him into the hall and pushed the father around pretty good, a police officer said later. The father returned with the gun and shot his son twice, once in the shoulder and once in the heart. When news got out, some thought at first it must be a twisted April Fool's joke. Others saw it as the culmination of Gaye's death wish and thought, so that's how he did it. In his account to a probation officer, Marvin Gaye Sr. said that his son had pushed him to the floor and kicked him, and that he grabbed his gun from under a pillow in fear of further attack. Los Angeles prosecutors charged him with murder, but found themselves with a weak case. Toxicology report showed cocaine in the singer's system. A court-ordered brain scan revealed the 71-year-old defendant had been suffering from a walnut-sized brain tumor, which defense attorneys were prepared to argue had affected his judgment. Plus, photos of the defendant showed his body was covered with bruises, suggesting that he had taken a severe beating from his son. Donna Brack, who prosecuted the case, recalled that one of the bruises on his side was the size of a melon. She said, "I thought, that's not a punch, that has to be a kick." Clearly, it had been a huge fight. This buttressed the case for self-defense. "We had all kinds of photographs of the old man exhibiting bruises and welts and lacerations as a result of Marvin's beatings," said Arnold Gold, one of Marvin Gaye Sr.'s defense attorneys. "I had sensational defense facts, not the least of which was the only witness to it all was his mother, and she refused to testify." Gold said he was holding out for a reduced charge of involuntary manslaughter, but everybody wanted the case resolved quickly as possible. And so Marvin Gaye Sr. accepted the deal when, 5 months after the shooting, prosecutors allowed him to plead no contest to voluntary manslaughter. The conviction might have brought him up to 13 years in prison, but the probation department had recommended against lockup, and there was little expectation that the judge would give him a hard time. What Gold recalls about his client is how sad and pathetic he was. Some in Gaye's family, like his brother Frankie and sister Jean, concluded that Gaye had orchestrated his own death. He said her father had made it clear that if Marvin hit him, he would kill him. By provoking his father, he had ended his own misery and freed his mother, who finally found the courage to leave her husband of 48 years. Ritz said he thinks of it less as a crime than a tragedy, and as an elaborately choreographed suicide that had the added effect of punishing the father. He thought that because his father had killed him, his father would go to hell, Ritz said. In his memoir, Frankie Gaye describes rushing into his brother's bedroom to cradle him as he died. "I got what I wanted," the singer mumbled. I couldn't do it by myself, so I made him do it. 7 months after he killed his son, Marvin Gaye Sr. received a sentence of probation from a Superior Court judge who concluded that the singer had provoked the fatal confrontation, and that prison would be a death sentence for the frail, aging defendant. Marvin Gaye Sr., who would live another 14 years, stood between his attorneys and thanked the judge for his mercy. He said, "I wish my son could step through that door right now. I love him." So there we have it, the stunning success of Marvin Gaye and the sad, dark decline. Less a crime than a tragedy, indeed. Did he try to get revenge from the grave on the abusive father? How did the drugs cloud his judgment? How did depression steer him in the wrong direction? These are questions that must be left unanswered. Marvin Gaye's funeral was held on April 15, 1984 at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Los Angeles, drawing crowds of fans and notable music figures including Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder, and Berry Gordy. Stevie Wonder performed, and the service featured a massive turnout with over 10,000 mourners. In his worldwide hit What's Going On, Marvin Gaye sang, "Father, Father, we don't need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. You know, we've got to find a way to bring some love here today." Heard today, those words seem more a prayer than a prediction. When considering the life of Marvin Gaye, never was the epitaph, "Rest in peace," more appropriate. Thanks for joining me. I'm Dr. Ian Clark, and you have been listening to Serious Rock Talk Crime. And as always, the beat goes on.